had to install. Thank you. You guys have a staff meeting or a staff party tonight?
Yes.
Where's it at?
Where's it at?
Riverside, yeah.
All right, we're crashing.
For the whole city?
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Come on, Bill, I got this thing rolling to
Why
get
are
these
we-
guys out of here.
I thought we were on finance first.
No.
No,
Focus at the
personnel.
table. Come on, man.
We should just all motion to hold. No one's here mentally. Kathy's walking to the chambers. Bill's on.
All right, we're going to start the Personnel Committee meeting. Let's see if we can get this thing up and running. Take the roll call. Alder Johnson.
Here.
Alder Grant.
Here.
Alder Hinkfuss.
Here.
I'll entertain a motion on the minutes.
Second.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes unanimously. I'll entertain a motion on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes unanimously. On to regular business. For consideration with possible action, request to fill the following positions and all subsequent vacancies resulting from internal transfers in administrative clerk and a operator one. Does anyone have any questions for staff? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes unanimously. Number two, for consideration with possible action to enter into an agreement with Aurora Healthcare, Inc. for Employee Assistance Program EAP services. I'd like to open the floor for interested parties to speak.
Second. Or motion to open the floor. Sorry.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Floor is open. Anyone that would like to approach and address us?
Mark Berglund, 806 North Broadway. I just want to start by saying I was extremely hesitant to come here to say anything this evening. For one reason, I don't want to be that guy that always comes here when I've got a problem and talk against it, you know. I guess I should sometimes show up a little more and say some good things about what you are doing, and there is a lot. But this particular proposal kind of hits a little close to home to me. As being a product of counseling, I may have a little different take on this, and I may have a little better perspective of the 23 cases that are currently being worked with ERC. You know, and going to a counselor, and I don't want to get long-winded here, but going to a counselor is not like going to a regular doctor, you know. You go to a doctor, you have a problem, they give you a prescription, done, you're good. You've got some physical ailment, you go to a doctor, they schedule a procedure, you're fixed, you're gone. Counseling doesn't work that way. You know, your first appointment is always just an intake. They ask you what's going on, what's happening in your family, your background, that kind of thing. With counseling, generally, you don't start to get to the meat of things till the third or fourth session, you know? So, that being said, this proposal here, at least what I'm looking at, isn't really even an apples to apples. With ERC, you're getting 8 sessions. With Aurora, you're only getting 6. I would hope that you would get somewhere in 6 sessions. You may not. The other thing is, going to see counselors, it may take a couple of times. You need to find the right person for you. It's truly a relationship, just like your doctor. You've got to feel comfortable You've got to say what's on your mind, you've got to be honest, truthful, they've got to understand. Sometimes you can't find somebody like that, you need to move on. One of the issues I think with this is, it's such a short time schedule, we're talking 21 days. You know, somebody may be just beginning their sessions, or somebody may be halfway through. They may be just getting to the cusp of the breakthrough, and now it's over. You gotta go find somebody else. You gotta go to a different provider. You've gotta start all over again. And these are people that are having, you know, some emotional problems in their life. And you're getting comfortable, you're getting somewhere, and then all of a sudden, that's over. The city's going somewhere else, you've gotta go somewhere else, you've gotta start all over again, gain the trust, find the person that's right for you. And really, you know, to me, cutting the 8 to 6 sessions, that's a big deal. And also, it is touting the savings. Well, if you look at the Aurora 8 session package, which would be equal to what we have now, you're only talking a couple dollars. You know, and what we're really, I understand it's always the council, they have to, you know, you hear, we've got to be a good steward of the public taxpayers' money. I get that. That's important. And I think you all do a good job, and thank you. But now we are talking about the mental wellness of employees here. And it seems as if we're trying to save a couple bucks on the backs of the mental wellness of our employees. So, you know, I just, I have a little bit of a problem with this and the short timeline, and I actually have some questions too, and I know this isn't a vehicle for me to ask questions. And in the past, I have contacted Chief Foltz with questions before these meetings, and he has answered them very well, thank you. And I did review the last meeting that you were here, and he had said that I had contacted him and needed to ask my questions, so I want to, you know, put in a good word for him. Because, you know, he's, you know, we have questions, and he asked me if I have questions, I should call him before I come down here and say my mind, and unfortunately I didn't have time today. But, you know, it just, I understand having to save money, but you've really got to think about the mental wellness of your employees. And at this, you know, the 8 sessions to 6 sessions, well, of course, that's a savings of $8.40. But if it was equal and it was 8 sessions, now you're only talking a couple of bucks. And you have to start to think about what is the price to pay for the wellness of your employees. You know, I just, from experiencing this, you get comfortable, you start getting somewhere, and now all of a sudden that's all over, you gotta start over. And I'm not just speaking for myself, I'm speaking for, well, it says here 23, you know, 23 other employees. And I don't know what other costs are associated with this, but if you're just talking a couple of dollars, you know, and they say that we can continue on with ERC at the rate of $150 a session. Well, I don't know of anybody that would be able to do that. I mean, as much as you would prefer to see the same counselor, you know, who's gonna be able to afford to do that? I'm not sure that anybody would or could, you know, so now they run the risk of resetting the clock, starting over, trying to find somebody else, and that only adds to the emotional turmoil that's going on in their life at the time. Now, there may be other benefits to this program, I'm sure there is. You know, I didn't go through a lot of this is kind of legalese and over my head, but I just think for the continuity of the employees that are using this service, I think that they should stay with who they're comfortable with. So, thanks for your time.
Does anyone have any questions? Already?
For speaker?
No, not for this one.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
We also have Beck Krasinski online too, who can speak to us a little bit.
Sure. Does anyone have any questions for the doctor?
So she's our insurance account. So she's our account executive from M3 Insurance.
Okay, all right. If no one has any questions, then I'll entertain a motion to close the floor.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. The floor is closed. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Alder Johnson.
Chief Foltz,
Yeah.
maybe it's because I've never really had to take advantage of this particular service, counseling. My understanding from ERCs, broadly speaking, is that they're meant for short-term needs, and that if you have long-term needs, you're supposed to transition over to sort of your normal coverage, right? What does our health insurance plan provide for that type of coverage?
So, well, I guess first I will say that's correct. And the industry standard has moved from 8 sessions to 6 because that's kind of the short time frame where you can move someone to that more long-term counseling. And then I think for our insurance, I guess I don't know off the top of my head, I mean, some counselors are covered, some are not. Do you know, like co-pays or?
Beck does.
I think Beck would know the co-pays for that.
Yeah.
Oh,
We need some volume.
So under mental health coverage on the health plan,
There's a fabulous legislation called mental health parity that requires that any employer-sponsored health plan offer benefits for behavioral health or mental health services that are on parity with their physical health benefits. And so the health plan has robust mental health coverage. Currently, there are virtual providers and in-network providers, and as we did our last search of Optum's behavioral health network, there's over 200 providers just within the city of Green Bay, not counting the broader Brown County area.
Okay, and if I look at, and I want to make sure that I'm reading this report correctly, there was, I'm trying to find it now, of course I can't get my fingertips on it, but have we had any employees that have used ERC at 7 or 8 sessions? I thought I saw somewhere that we did not have that.
I think I can speak to that as well. The average utilization as shared by Employee Resource Center, ERC, is 4 to 5 sessions. They will not provide a specific number because the data that we get related to EAP utilization is very confidential, and they provide a lot of aggregate data for us. So 4 to 5 sessions is the average number utilized. Members have access to up to 8 sessions currently. And of those 23 folks who are currently in active case with ERC, they have used between 2 and 6 sessions of the 8 that are available.
Okay, so just
If I can, just for clarity, the recommendation that we've made also is not to have members pay that $150 in continuation, but to allow for the city to pay that $150 continuation until their ERC visits are exhausted, to ensure that members are not disrupted while they're in a care plan with ERC.
Okay, that's an important point of clarification, thank you. And so I just want to, again, kind of really understand this. When we're talking about EAP services in general, philosophically, if an individual does require more than 6 sessions, that's generally the type of service that you want to look towards your health insurance for, right? Whereas the EAP is really meant for some of those short-term, immediate needs. Would that be correct?
You are correct. The historical position had been it's an employer paid benefit, let's offer as many sessions as we can. The industry has transitioned and led by the EAP providers and mental health professionals, not led by insurance folks, that we don't want to delay transition. We want to get folks to the appropriate point of care. And if the short-term counseling that's provided in an employee assistance program isn't the appropriate place of care, we don't want to delay that transition to, a more long-term solution.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Alder Hinkfus.
Did I hear the date right, that we're gonna try to do this within 21 days?
yeah, that's correct. We've brought this forward to our benefits committee, probably 2 or 3 meetings to talk this over. So then, during that time, M3 has done the market assessment to get multiple vendors. You only see 2 in here because those are the 2 finalists, our current one and Aurora. So yes, we would be. And, a big part of it, the cost difference is about, with 6 sessions, it's about $4,000 difference between each group, and would be about an $8,000 increase from what we're paying to go to keep 8 sessions with ERC. So cost is a big factor, but we also believe the services from Aurora are the same or better. than
So
ERC.
what is the overlap then in providers? Because I heard 200 mental health or 200 providers.
That's for our health insurance plan.
Oh, that's for health insurance, not
Yeah.
for ERC.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what is the overlap between Aurora and ERC?
So Aurora and ERC both employ their own counselors for their employee assistance program. Also, both organizations have providers who are in network with the health plan.
Okay, next question is, if the city signs a contract with Aurora, can they still sign contracts or see mental health providers in Prevea and Bellin?
Absolutely, yes. Thank you. That's an excellent question. Aurora's EAP services are not provider specific. And in other groups that we have, we work with Aurora or other hospital-based EAP programs for that matter. They will refer patients to the appropriate provider after EAP services have been exhausted, or if that's not determined to be the appropriate level of care, both to independent providers and also to other hospital systems within the region.
Okay, and then what I heard on continuation of care, so in answer to your question, if somebody has already contacted ERC and are in the midst of chatting, you will continue, city will continue that coverage through the 8 sessions, so that nobody, none of the patients or people that are seeing it will be disrupted, because that's a huge issue. When you make this change. Do we know how many people use ER?
Beck might know that answer. What I can say is, and what, like she said, we get a lot of aggregate data from ERC, and they tell us every year that we're one of the highest utilizers of EAP with the clients that they have. So I'm not sure if, Beck, if you have any more firm numbers with what we have.
No, that, I'm glad, because.
Yeah.
I don't have it handy, but I can look it up.
I mean, we want to encourage people to utilize it if they can, because I mean, it's almost over $21,000 a month just to pay for just this section, yeah, on the mental health.
Well, it's per year,
Per year.
Oh,
per year.
it says PEPM, didn't it?
Does it? Yeah, I mean,
I
it might-
think it's PPY.
yeah, so it's about 24,000 a year.
Perfect. And then what kind of communication are we doing for the employees? Especially for the ones that are currently under care. We want to make sure that they understand that they don't have to call. I mean, because it can be just very disruptive.
So I believe we'll be sending out, like, M3 will work with us on the communication to the city employees generally speaking, and then I think ERC will also communicate with those patients directly as well.
And then did you,
And we will work with the city and ERC to get an approved message out to the members who are currently utilizing ERC for their care so that they know what to do next. And one of the benefits of transitioning also is not only do those members have access to the 8 sessions that they're currently in progress with ERC, but if they believe that, that EAP is still appropriate for them, they can begin that additional 6 sessions at Aurora if that's what they feel is appropriate.
and then my last question. Is, did we get pricing from, ERC if we just did the 6?
Yep.
Because if we're promoting the 6,
Yes, we did. We got pricing from them if it's 6 or 8, and in both, it was like, I think, a 27% increase, so it's like $4,000 more to go with ERC with a 6 session per rate, or excuse me, 6 sessions, or it's about 8,000 to 9,000 more if we do the 8 sessions with ERC.
Alderman
Okay.
Johnson?
What's the ultimate fiscal impact here? I mean, we see the per employee, but
Yep.
talk to me in apples to apples, right? Like, what are we looking at total cost per year?
So we budget about 25,000 a year for this. The Aurora quote, I believe, comes underneath that for about 23, 24,000. If we go to ERC with the 6 session, I believe that goes up to about 27,000, 28,000. If we do so that's about 2,000, 3,000 over what we budgeted. If we go to the 8 session rate, that goes to about $8,000 to $9,000 over what we budgeted. Or an 8 session with Aurora would be about closer to like a $5,000 increase over what we budgeted.
So we could do ERC for a 6 session, is that?
You could, and I think if we go that route, I think it would be important for Beck to talk about like some of the other benefits that they offer that's included in the price, the per employee per year, that ERC offers on top for additional costs. I think that'd be a good discussion to have. What I can tell you is that Aurora is in budget and ERC is not in our
I
budget.
get that, but we're talking a couple $1,000, right?
That's right, yeah.
And what's going through my mind, and you talk me off the ledge, feel free to, right? What I don't know is, was this put out for bid? Does it have the rules that regulate it? And the reason why I'm asking is because I kind of go back to the conversation we had around the newspaper selection, right? And the value of supporting someone who's local. And then also, I think about the impact on our employees. There's a transition cost there. Now, it's not necessarily a financial cost. The transition cost is the burden on the employees, have to figure out a new system, a new platform, right? And sometimes, especially if you're talking about a couple $1,000, it might be worthwhile to stay with someone local. So feel free to
Yeah,
speak to that.
so I can start with that, and I'll hand it over to Beck. I guess we reviewed it with our benefits committee, and I think we felt with moving from 8 sessions to 6 makes sense, because that's kind of the industry standard, so we feel comfortable with that. We also feel comfortable that based on the price and the services provided, very general statement, that Aurora was kind of the better vendor for that. So maybe Beck, you can maybe answer a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Joey shared that we shared with you the finalist spreadsheet. So what you see in your packet this evening is Aurora's proposal along with ERC's, I guess I would call it their best and final, because we had a couple versions with ERC. We did look at 6 total vendors as part of the marketing effort, so you're seeing 2 of the 6. Aurora's proposal, a couple of the value adds that I think are most significant in terms of their difference from ERC. Critical incident response is included at no additional charge. So in the unfortunate event that a staff member passes away, or that there is a significant event within the community that impacts employees of the city of Green Bay, we have access to those services at no additional charge. ERC proposal and the current contract, those are per hour services that are provided and available if needed. The other large value add, and this is one that I see is impactful for all employees, is the inclusion of training opportunities. So currently, if we access ERC for training, let's say we do a resiliency training or a stress management at work or general mental health, what to watch for kinds of things, those trainings come at a cost from ERC. And they do a very nice job, but they charge by the hour for those services or by the session. There are 10 services included as part of the Aurora EAP, so we can use those to further enhance the Health 1265 program or provide additional training for our managers or leaders throughout the city. But bringing more mental health awareness and education along with that EAP, we feel is really beneficial in the Aurora contract.
How many times have we used the critical incident benefit?
It's like 2 or 3 times in the past 10 years.
In the past 10 years?
Just used it last month for a department.
And how many hours was that?
They spent about 3 or 4 on site.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is I'm looking at this, it looks like ERC includes 4 hours, right, per year? So that would have been covered?
Yeah, and I think I mean, I don't want to speak for ERC, but my assumption is they assume it's going to be about 4 hours for each incident. So if you have more than one, you're going to be paying for one. That's
Okay.
how I.
Yep,
I'm kind of-
understood. Thank you.
Alder Hinkles.
One other question. So this organization is owned by Aurora Healthcare, correct?
So, owned by Advocate Aurora, yes.
Okay, so how do you work with other health systems? Meaning, you're owned by Aurora, you have a health system, you have mental health. Our people are seeing Bellin, many Bellin providers, many Prevea providers. I think those are the two biggest. We want them to be referred into that system so they're within the same system. How does that work? Because now we're introducing a competitor into the mix as a provider of our, just one service.
Yeah, great question. I would say, trying to think about how to say this appropriately, but I'll just go ahead and say it. Our health systems are far more collaborative than we give them credit for. And they are all about finding the right location for folks to have care. Like I said, I've got other clients who have EAP services with Aurora who also have very similar direct contracts that you have with Bellin and Prevea for those primary care services. And we have heard no concerns from Bellin or Prevea about disruption of care or lack of coordination for that matter. We also see that in referrals out of Aurora, that there is an equal distribution among the other two local provider systems, as well as independent providers who aren't affiliated with the hospital system. So I would say that they really do a nice job of finding the appropriate next level provider when EAP isn't the right fit or can no longer continue to service those members who need something that's more long-term.
Right, but wouldn't it just be natural to refer internally?
I think it might be natural to refer internally, but that's not what we're experiencing. We are seeing, really, the Aurora providers are asking, like, who's the primary care provider? Oh, I see Henry with that Prevea. Well, great, let's get you aligned with a mental health provider within Prevea.
Okay, and then, I had one more question. Hopefully it'll come back.
Alder Johnson.
I'm going to make an motion to approve ERC for the 6 sessions per issue.
I'll second that.
All right, for discussion? Anyone want to?
The only thing that I would say in support of that motion is we're going to be looking at a lot of the other health, and when we start talking about the additions that this program adds, some of those same things overlap. And I think we should look at the value of those as the overall package, but the disruption now.
And I guess this is a question for Beck. With the 6 sessions with ERC, do we know what type of contract that would be for? Like if that's a price lock for any year, or it's a 2-year contract or a 5-year agreement?
They propose a 3-year agreement.
At that same price for each 3 years, or for each year?
They did not indicate future year pricing, but they proposed a 3-year agreement.
Okay.
Aurora's proposal is also a 3-year agreement, but they proposed a lock for the 3 years. A rate hold.
And given their recommendation, if we're one of the most heavily utilized programs, there's a reason they're asking for that price increase, right? It's that they're not in business to lose money. They're trying to equalize that relationship a little bit, and just given the marginal increase, and sure, we're getting a few extra services, but they seem to be like services we're not even really using right now. And I think supporting that local company and then keeping that continuity for employees right now seems that carries value to me. So that's why I made the motion.
All right, I've got a couple of questions, and I'm kind of going to roll back to the beginning. With the EAP, an employee is having some difficulties. how do they get steered into EAP versus just going out and finding a practitioner, through their medical facility that they go to, or what?
Great question. So each year, during open enrollment meetings that are held at each of the departments throughout the city, we share information about EAP services. When I visit those locations, I can see the posters posted on their bulletin boards as well, so that communication is visual as well as shared during that in-person meeting. I know Amber includes that information in Health 1265 communications. It's available on the city's intranet. And that's also information that Nurse Lori has at the on-site clinic, and Orlando through Purveya as well. But we consistently share the information across as many platforms as we can. That information is also shared with our Plan Advisor team. Plan Advisor is the updated customer service that we have through UMR. So if folks call into the health plan with a question, the health plan knows about the EAP services as well.
All right, so I go to this Nurse Lori. She listens to what I have to say, and then she makes the decision whether I should go to EAP or if I should go to something that's going to be more involved.
Well, I don't want to speak for Lori, but I doubt that Lori is telling a member where they should go. I think Lori's approach would more likely be to say, here are some options for you, and don't forget about the EAP that allows you, 6 sessions of counseling at no cost to you. It's completely confidential.
All right, and then the employee goes to EAP. Does EAP say this is going to take more than 6 sessions? Or do they do the 6 sessions and then suggest a referral?
Unless the member has a problem that is not appropriate for short-term counseling, I've not encountered an EAP service, regardless of who the vendor is, that has denied care at the outset. If it's a crisis situation, we will absolutely send members to the crisis center. Some very significant substance abuse situations, they will refer folks before seeing them. But in the vast majority of cases, the appointment with an EAP provider will happen before they turn them over to another level of care.
All right, and thank you for being that guy. I appreciate the discussion you've opened up here, I really do. Are there many instances where someone goes to an EAP and, as it was suggested here, has a hard time finding the right fit with the right practitioner? And then, so maybe they have to see 1 or 2 before they can start moving forward.
That's not feedback that we received from our EAP vendors. So, from my experience and working with a variety of EAP providers, that's not something that they're sharing with us as a concern. I'm not going to say members don't have that experience, but that's not something that comes our way.
So it does happen, but it's not something that happens a lot.
I mean, I can see how it might happen, and so I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen, but I don't believe it happens frequently. I feel like we hear about it if it did.
All right. And in your opinion, Green Bay is taking advantage of this program, the city of Green Bay? It's
I
important.
believe that you are the program appropriately, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your information. Alder Grant.
Certainly.
And I'm trying to figure out that. So we just approved, and I don't have the exact title, didn't we approve for the police department a designated mental health person? Of this 23 active cases, are any of them from the police department that would get shifted over? We wouldn't be able to know that?
No.
Okay.
That's not clear that we have access to.
And the only
For
reason
confidentiality reasons.
Okay, and the only reason I ask is we now have that position, utilizing those funds, is that going to alleviate some of this expense? Is that something, yes, and it's something we should be taking into consideration, why I don't want to see double up, but, kind of in a sense double.
So is it a savings that would offset
Correct.
Staying with the current provider?
Right.
I would say it's not. I think the position of PD is really focused on police department issues
Right.
and kind of on that. And I think EAP is just a general employee benefit, I think, that we take a lot of pride in that we offer.
Okay.
I can
Sure.
maybe present.
Chief
provide a
Davis.
little insight.
Oh, you see back
I
there.
doubt that you'll see an offset because even the program that we have now is a contract resource that
Oh,
a lot of our employees use, and they use them specifically because they work with police and first responders.
okay.
So hearing the number that you are working with right now, I doubt that you're going to recognize what's saving.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and at $26,000 a year, if you calculate that number of visits times, 23, it's taken up with 22 people. So it's, from a value add, I mean, it's also a great benefit
Well,
that most employers, and from a communication, if I'm correct, Joe, aren't you guys required to post it on all your bulletin boards, have flyers, do you do mail stuffers, to remind, payroll stuffers to remind, or emails?
Yeah, I don't
So
know if
that, because this was a really big thing within the healthcare.
And I think keep in mind too, right, that this is, if we don't provide this service, we're going to pay for probably a big chunk of these services through our health insurance
Yes.
plan, right? It's just,
Yes.
it's an alternative, right, to that long-term care that can, if you think about long-term care, a lot of times it takes a while to get an appointment, right, and to get in and to find the right person. This, to me, is that short-term, immediate response.
It is immediate, because
Right.
they will get somebody on the phone when they call. They won't get a receptionist that says you're gonna have to wait 60 days.
Yeah.
So,
any other questions or comments? All right, we have a motion to stay with ERC. It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
I,
All those opposed? That passes unanimously. All right.
Just a point of clarification on that motion, that the motion also include the call out on the 6 sessions, right? Because I was trying to create that comparison.
Yeah, we can include that.
All right. Other than that, does anyone have any comments or questions about report of routine personnel actions? Our next meeting is January 14th, 2025. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
kind of,
All those in favor?
I.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously.